Look at a map of Central Europe today, and you'll see a collection of stable, prosperous nation-states. Now look at that exact same region 1,000 years ago. This dizzyingly complex patchwork of thousands of semi-independent territories operated under a single elected monarch. That monarch claimed to be the direct successor of the ancient Caesars, yet this political behemoth functioned nothing like ancient Rome. The Enlightenment philosopher Voltaire famously joked that this institution was neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire. And looking at the map, he had a point. To understand how this strange entity formed, we have to trace back to the collapse of the original Western Roman Empire centuries earlier, which left a massive, dangerous power vacuum in Europe. Out of that chaos rose the Franks. On Christmas Day in the year 800, Pope Leo III crowned the Frankish king Charlemagne as emperor. Together, earthly kings and the church were essentially declaring that the Roman Empire had returned and that its legitimacy came directly from God. But this hasty alliance to restore centralized order backfired. Instead of a cohesive Roman state, it accidentally birthed a deeply complicated, highly decentralized political web that somehow survived a millennium. Let's jump ahead to 962 AD. A powerful king named Otto I marched into Italy and was crowned emperor. From Otto onward, the geographic and cultural core of the empire definitively became German rather than Roman. This diagram shows the system's unique core mechanic. The emperor didn't automatically inherit the throne. Instead, he had to aggressively negotiate for it by winning an election decided by a small group of the most powerful regional nobles, known as the prince-electors. This 17th century engraving shows the imperial diet. It was a massive assembly where the emperor constantly bargained with local rulers. These attendees represented independent duchies, free cities, and lands ruled by bishops, all operating under one umbrella. Because the system required the emperor and the pope to share authority, the two most powerful men in Europe became bitter rivals over who actually called the shots. They fought bitterly over who had the right to appoint local church officials. Popes repeatedly excommunicated emperors, effectively telling subjects they no longer had to obey their rulers, which frequently triggered bloody civil wars. Yet the empire survived its early centuries precisely because this internal friction prevented any single faction, including the emperor himself, from gaining total control. This map highlights the vast territories under the Habsburg dynasty's indirect control during the 1500s. Through strategic marriages, Emperor Charles V amassed territory spanning from Spain and the Netherlands to the newly discovered Americas, bringing the empire to its peak of global influence. But Charles V's control was soon tested from within. In 1517, a monk named Martin Luther published his 95 Theses, marking the start of the Protestant Reformation. Because the realm was heavily centralized, many local German princes quickly adopted Protestantism. It was partly true belief, but it also served as a convenient political excuse to rebel against their Catholic emperor. This print of the Siege of Magdeburg documents the horrifying climax. The religious divide spiraled into the 30 Years' War, wiping out a third of the German population. As neighbors slaughtered neighbors, the empire's central authority shattered from the inside out. The bloodbath finally concluded with the Peace of Westphalia. This treaty granted true legal sovereignty to the individual German states, allowing them to make their own laws and forge independent foreign alliances. The treaty permanently crippled the emperor. He was reduced to a prestigious figurehead, presiding over a fractured political network that was now an empire in name only. This fragile status quo limped along for another century and a half, until an external threat shattered it: the unstoppable French armies of Napoleon Bonaparte. In the early 19th century, Napoleon systematically dismantled the empire's remaining territories. The ruling Austrian Habsburgs grew terrified that the French conqueror might try to claim the Holy Imperial title for himself. To prevent that, the final emperor, Francis II, made a drastic decision. In 1806, he officially abdicated the throne and legally dissolved the 1,000-year-old institution with the stroke of a pen. So, what was the actual legacy of this chaotic institution, which spent most of its 1,000-year history as a collection of rival states? Politically, this extreme decentralization is the exact reason why Germany and Italy remained fractured, ununified states well into the late 19th century. However, that same fragmentation drove a unique kind of competition. Because there were hundreds of small courts rather than one central capital, local rulers competed for prestige by founding their own universities and commissioning distinct styles of art to distinguish themselves from their neighbors. This photograph shows early physical wooden printing presses. This technology rapidly spread as a direct result of this decentralized, highly competitive environment, where ideas couldn't easily be censored by a single central authority. It failed almost every modern definition of an empire. Yet, by preventing centralized power from taking hold, it ensured that Central Europe would develop not as a single monolith, but as a diverse and intellectually competitive network of independent states.